Welcome. I am Tricia Crowley with the League of Women Voters, and this forum is being sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Champaign County and the NAACP. And on behalf of the League and the NAACP, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's candidate forum. And here we have the candidates for the office of County Executive. We have solicited questions from League members and the public. If similar questions have been submitted, they may have been grouped together, and consequently, your question may not be asked in precisely the way you submitted it. Due to limited time, we may not be able to get to all of the submitted questions. This forum will be available on votechampaign.org, which is the candidate guide for the League, and on the League's YouTube channel, both of which can be found, can be located from the League's website at lwvchampaigncounty.org. I will be the moderator for this forum, and our timer is Michelle Cooper. The order for the candidates is alphabetical. Therefore, Ted Myhre, Republican, will open, and Ted Summers, the Democrat, will close.
Steve Summers.
One of the worst things for the moderator is mispronouncing people's names, so I apologize. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement. I will then ask the questions submitted prior to the forum, and candidates will each have 1 minute to answer the questions. At the end, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. The candidates will kindly refrain from negative attacks on the other candidate and will not mention the other candidate by name, and will speak only to what they will do when they are elected to office. And we shall begin. And Mr. Myhre, your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Ted Myhre, and I am running for county executive. And I grew up here in Champaign County, the county that I love. I grew up between Philo and Tolono and saw the assembly hall just over the cornfield in my backyard. It was an exciting time to grow up in Champaign County, and I just love this place. I worked for several years out in the Army, and that's when I got married. When we came back to Champaign County was when we adopted our 4 children. We could think of no better place to raise our 4 kids. I came back to work for the University of Illinois and spent a lot of time as a business process analyst and a technologist, and really enjoyed my time at the University of Illinois. Go Illini. I feel that this is a position that I am very capable of doing, and I look forward to being the next county executive. I've worked as in various areas of public administration in different villages, and I am currently the mayor of Sodoris, actually village president. And I've had so many different hats in my life. I've had a great, vast and broad level of experience in different careers. And I'm gonna tie all that together in order to become the next county executive.
Thank you. Mr. Summers?
Thank you, Tricia. I am Steve Summers. I'm running for Champaign County Executive because I really want to make things work and work better. I was not born in this community, but I have spent my entire adult life and from I'm a product of the Urbana school system, K through 12. When I was in my late 30s, I decided that public service was something that was very important, and I wanted to become involved. My father, Stan, had served on the Champaign County Board in the mid-70s for about 6 years. My first run for office was for Board of Education in Urbana. I served on the Board of Education for 16 years, and it was a difficult job, but it was one that I would not change in any way, shape, or form. After my tenure on the board ended with election loss by 6 votes, I took some time off and then decided to run for county board. There was a person in my district that I thought needed to go, so I primaried another Democrat and was able to win the primary and then the general election. I've served on the county board for 6 years. I'm currently vice chair of the county board. In terms of my educational background, I've got a bachelor's degree in political science from Illinois State University and a master's degree in public administration from Sangamon State University, which is now University of Illinois at Springfield. I am vice chair of the county board at this time and chair of the facilities committee. And in 6 years of work on the board, we've been able to really have some major successes. And I would like to build on those successes in this new position. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for the questions. Mr. Summers, as I said, will be alternating who starts. What would be your top priorities if elected, and what are the major obstacles to implementing those priorities?
Okay. My first priority, if elected, would be to establish a human resources position for the county. We currently have no dedicated individual to handle employee relations or recruiting, and we need to be able to support our county employees. Turnover has been a huge problem in the county over the last few years, and we cannot serve the public well without consistently well-trained staff. Another priority would be the two major projects that the county is embarking on. One is a jail addition, and the other is the County Plaza project. We're doing over $40 million of work without a tax increase. And I've worked in the construction industry for many years, and as chair of the facilities committee, I'm very excited about the progress that we're going to be making. I know there will be obstacles, but I'm looking forward to addressing them as they come.
Thank you. Mr. Myhre, what would be your top priorities if elected, and what are the major obstacles to implementing these priorities?
So as far as major priorities go, my number one priority is to reassess what the priorities of the county are. I think as we've seen demonstrated in the budget and in voting opportunities, maybe we haven't had excellent priorities up to this point. So I think we need to reassess that. And as we go into a recession period, potentially, it is very important to assess what we're spending our money on. That leads into the next point, which is the priority that has already been mentioned, is the new jail. The new facility is going to be inadequate as it is planned right now. So it'll be important to use all the funding that we can that is available in order to fund the new jail, which will need a new plan. I think we haven't done a good enough job so far in acquiring the right funds for that, so we don't have to raise taxes. One of the other priorities that we really need to work on is that county plaza and make a new plan for that as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Myhre, what would you consider to be the major problems facing the county in the next year, and then the next 2 years, and the next 4 years?
So we're talking about setting priorities again, and that's a great thing. I'm glad we're addressing this, because as we look to the future, our very first priority will be to find out how we can actually disseminate the funding that we have and do it in an appropriate manner. I think that'll be important because of the way it's been managed so far. I don't think it's been adequate. Still looking forward to 2 years from now, 1 year, 2 year, and 4 years from now, that county jail and what actually happens with it will be very important. Right now, we're hemorrhaging money at an unimaginable rate in how we're handling this right now, as far as shipping inmates out to other counties. So this will be a big issue for a long time. Additionally, I think the partisanship issue that we have on the county board that makes it quite dysfunctional will be something we need to address right away. I think a strong leader with good ties to both sides will actually help smooth the way out and bring people together.
Thank you. Mr. Myhre, the FY 2022 Champaign County budget was approximately $176 million. This budget covers a complexity of public revenues and expenditures, and the elected executive is responsible for the preparation of the annual budget. Please describe your experience and credentials in public finance and budgeting, and how you plan to develop and manage the annual budget preparation process.
Absolutely. I have a lot of experience both in the private side and in the public sector for preparing budgets. I've been a deacon, of course, that's on a small scale. And in the military, we also have had to develop budgets and run those down with the officers. On the public side, I've actually had the experience of being in 2 different villages and being the mayor, the village president right now of Sidoris. That process is really important to us, of course. Every time you go through a budget, it's important. The thing that I've learned about going through the budgeting process and developing it and managing that process is to start early. If you start early in that budgeting process, you can get more people on board with what's going on and make corrections as you need to, as you follow the process along. It's important to keep the people that are in that budget process informed and to make sure that they're on board and their numbers are accurate so they can stay on budget through the rest of the year.
Thank you. Mr. Summers, the FY 2022 Champaign County budget was approximately $176 million. This budget covers a complexity of public revenues and expenditures. The elected executive is responsible for the preparation of the annual budget. Please describe your experience and credentials in public finance and budgeting and how you plan to develop and manage the annual budget preparation process.
Okay. I have a master's degree in public administration that I believe will be useful in this endeavor. When I was elected to the Urbana School Board, one of the first things I did was study the budget line by line. It took a while, but it was well worth it. As a Board of Education member, I was responsible for implementing significant budget cuts multiple times. As a county board member, I've been responsible for annually reviewing our budget and modifying it to meet the needs of our county. I'll work closely with Tammy Ogden, our Director of Finance, to review the budget requests submitted by department heads. As Vice Chair of the Board, I can say that our county's financial picture is improving, and we will, if we've not received it already, we will very soon be receiving a bond rating cut, which will save taxpayers in Champaign County millions of dollars.
Thank you. And Mr. Summers, Champaign County's staffing budget includes the employment of 846 full-time equivalent positions, with full and part-time counted almost 1,000 employees. The elected executive is responsible for personnel management of all employees who are not directly employed by other countywide elected officials. Please describe your experience and credentials in personnel management, including the development and implementation of personnel policies, and how you will manage this responsibility for Champaign County.
I will say again, not to be redundant, but I've got a master's degree in public administration. In terms of the staffing, the number of employees that we have, the hiring of a human resources specialist is my top priority. As a former supervisor in the construction industry, I've supervised certainly much smaller groups, not unlike my opponent, but there are certainly very similar issues that come up. I have chaired the Labor Committee for the board for the last 4 years and currently serve on the Labor Management Health Insurance Committee. My approach is to listen to and work with people. I'm going to talk with staff and get their input. I respect the work of our employees.
Thank you. Mr. Myhre. Champaign County staffing budget includes employment of 846 full-time positions with full and part-time amounting to almost 1,000 employees. The elected executive is responsible for personnel management of all employees who are not directly employed by other countywide elected officials. Please describe your experience and credentials in personnel management, including the development and implementation of personnel policies, and how you will manage this responsibility for Champaign County.
Sure. As far as managing people, I've had the opportunity over the years, over several years, to manage small groups of people and have the ability to open that up to a larger group by the lessons that I've learned in the HR process. Actually being the director of operations for a small firm was a boon to me as far as learning how to manage people and talk to personnel, to manage those back end records and make sure people are, getting all the benefits that they need for their position. One of the things I do as a leader is to provide opportunities for investment in whatever business that we're in. such that people have this distributed leadership opportunities. And so I want to make sure that they are well compensated. I want to make sure that the people that are in charge are actually in charge and doing jobs where I can just be helpful in all areas of being a leader.
Thank you. Mr. Myhre, do you intend to hire an administrator? And if so, what would be the major duties of that administrator?
So as far as the administrator goes, that is not something that I'm going to hire out or expend money on, because I think, not only I think, but it is a part of the actual county executive's position as it was designed. So the county administrator position, all those responsibilities that are written into the county executive's job should remain there and actually be managed by the county executive. The buck stops at the county executive when it comes to the administrator's position.
Thank you. Mr. Summers, would you intend to hire an administrator? And if so, what would be the major duties of the administrator?
Well, initially, I would talk with staff and assess our needs. As I stated on a couple occasions before, I plan on hiring a human resource administrator. I would also want that individual to be cross-trained to support our financial director. I'm well aware of the fiscal limitations of our county, and there's certainly not unlimited funding for new positions.
Thank you. And Mr. Summers, would the county board have any input into the hiring process in your administration? And what would that input look like?
They would absolutely have input in terms of how the process would work. I would be reaching out to the county board chair and probably to the respective committee chairs if there was a strong connection with that individual committee. Part of the issues that we've had with this position has been the lack of coordination and just ability to work together between the board and the administrator. I think I'm in a unique position to address that, having served on the board for the last 6 years. I know virtually all the county board members and have developed relationships with them across party boundaries. I believe they look at me as a person that they can trust and collaborate with, and I look forward to being able to collaborate with them in the future.
Mr. Myhre, would the county board have any input into the hiring process in your administration? And if so, what would that input look like?
So I still envision the county executive as the chief hirer, but along with that, we need the input of the people that are working in the different departments. So it's important to have search committees, and the county board is no different in that they would provide feedback on the people that we hire. Through a search committee process would be more appropriate. There is plenty of opportunity to reach out across the aisle to get their input and advice, and there's nothing that bars me from getting that from them as well.
Thank you. Mr. Myhre, the county executive in running the administrative functions of the office has financial policies, employment policies, and purchasing policies. Have you reviewed the policies in effect by the current county executive, and is there anything you would change?
Yeah, at this point, actually, as a business process analyst, I look forward to researching those policies and getting more in depth with those policies and seeing how the current county executive has developed those, why they were developed, and how the county board's participation in that process was accomplished. So I really look forward to making things more efficient and changing things if they are needed. If it's not needed and it seems to be an efficient process, we will leave it alone. But there's always a need to find the root cause for why something isn't working. So yeah, definitely getting into those policies, those legal requirements that we have will be very important to making our business, the county government business, more efficient and more effective.
Thank you. Mr. Summers, the county executive in running the administrative functions of the office has financial policies, employment policies, and purchasing policies. Have you reviewed the policies in effect by the current county executive, and is there anything you would change?
I don't believe there have been any significant policy changes in the last 4 years. I know there has been the addition of a sexual harassment prevention training instituted in 2018. I will be reviewing current policies. Changes to existing policies must be approved by the board. So of course, I'll be seeking input from the board. The initial step to work this through with the board would be, again, to talk with the board chair and committee chairs. I will add that I played a pivotal role in the county enacting a project labor agreement about a month ago. That includes an equal opportunity policy that will allow us to track the use of minority and female contractors and workers on county projects. I want to do all that I can do to ensure that all of our residents benefit from the work that we perform.
Okay, thank you. And this may be a little bit of a repeat for you, but would you consider getting county board input into these different policies, and how would you go about getting that input?
Yeah, again, the board and the executive need to be able to work collaboratively. I would be reaching out to individual board members. I'd be reaching out to committee chairs. I feel that the folks on the board are comfortable working with me. And while there may be some hurdles to overcome, I did have one board member saying that, oh, well, when you're the executive, things may be different. I can assure you things will not be different. I will be the same person that listens to others and tries to take their opinions and thoughts into account in terms of decision making.
Thank you. And Mr. Myhre, would you consider getting county board input about the policies, financial, employment, and purchasing, and how would you go about getting that input?
So regarding the policies, definitely under the county executive's purview, but the county executive needs the board to be on board with the policies and to provide input and to work together side by side. Just because there are two different branches of government doesn't mean that they shouldn't be working together. So absolutely, reaching out to the people on the other side of the aisle is very important. And most of the time, these policies are practical things that actually need to happen. So often there's not that many issues with getting these policies passed or making improvements to policies, because they'll be glaringly obvious when there's an improvement that needs to be made.
Thank you. Mr. Myhre, it's no secret that the relationship between the current county executive and the county board is not cordial. How important do you think that relationship with the county board is, and how would you ensure the best functioning office in your administration? How would you improve the relationship?
So yeah, I think everybody does know that right now our county board is quite dysfunctional just in itself, but then in the discussions between the county board and the county executive, yeah, they do need to improve quite a bit. I think the first part of this term will be spent reaching out to the county board to find those things that we can agree with. It's important to bring people together and to find those areas that we agree with before we start defining what are the things that we disagree about. The first 4 years that there was a county executive, the office needed to define the office itself, even in those little details. So I think it's commendable, the work that's been done so far, but I think there are plenty of opportunities to actually join hands and actually make decisions in a forward progress decision, that we are looking at what's in the best interest and the will of the people. Sometimes we let activism or special interest or other things get in the way of that. National issues often, and this is what I hear about the most, get in the way. So we're hoping to put those aside in order to work together.
Thank you. Mr. Summers, how important do you think the relationship of the county executive to the county board is to ensure the best functioning office, and how would you improve that relationship? Mr. Summers?
Yes. The board and the executive have to work together and work together closely in order to be productive. The executive is currently suing the board, which gives you a pretty good benchmark on the state of affairs. But I have to say that I do not think the board has been dysfunctional. The executive has been openly dismissive of the board. And that's simply not a situation that works well when you have an elected body working with a countywide elected official. You have got to be able to work collaboratively to be able to achieve things for the residents of Champaign County and to make sure that our government works smoothly and efficiently. I think I am in a very strong position to be able to accomplish that. And despite the difficulties over the last 4 years, we need to be able to endeavor to make this form of government that the voters of Champaign County have selected work. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Summers, if you're talking to someone who's considering running for the county board, what do you think they should know about the job, and what kind of time commitment and what aspects of the county board member's job would you emphasize?
Being a county board member is a significant time commitment, more so if you're in a leadership position. There will be multiple monthly meetings, some of which you will probably not receive a stipend for. You will need to review a fair amount of information on a regular basis and work with both staff and constituents on a wide range of topics. Oh, and you will also need to be answering a lot of emails, so be prepared.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Myhre, if you're talking to someone who's considering running for the county board, what do you think they should know about the job? What time commitment should they make, and what are the various aspects of the county board member's job?
Yeah, I think actually Steve hit it on the head. He's had lots of experience on the county board for the past 6 years. They actually have, they need to consider it a full-time job practically, because they're going to be responding to citizens' inquiries. They're going to be attending so many different meetings, meetings of the whole, and then special committee meetings as well. So I agree with Steve in the fact that this is a full-time job. It's a commitment that a person needs to make, and actually need to have a thick skin about things too. Sometimes people don't agree, and sometimes they aren't very nice about it. And a county board member needs to be durable and be able to respond in a tactful way, and it needs to be able to get along with others as well. Right now, I don't know if Steve's vision or my opponent's vision of that is accurate. They are quite divided on lots of things, and I'm not sure that he's going to, from his current position, be able to reach out to across the aisle. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Myhre, Champaign County has just completed the first 4 years under the elected county executive form of government. Do you think this form has been shown to be an effective structure for leadership of Champaign County?
So being so young in this process, as far as it's only 4 years old, and there are only 2 counties in the state of Illinois that are doing this kind of government, it still needs to be proved out. I think there are very many opportunities to actually smooth over and to create opportunities for improvement. However, if the will of the people is to change the county executive position to another position or try some other form of government, I'm willing to go with that. But for the next 4 years, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that the county executive's office and the county board work cohesively to do the will of the people.
Thank you. Mr. Summers, Champaign County has just completed the first 4 years under the elected county executive form of government. Do you think that this form of government has been shown to be an effective structure for leadership of Champaign County?
Well, it has not really been a smooth transition. I think the lawsuits, the culmination of the lack of cooperation and collaboration between the executive and the board. I believe I can work with other board members to meet the needs of our employees and our residents. And I think some of the actions that this board has taken kind of really show that we can work together. The vote to close the downtown jail and do the additions to the satellite jail was passed nearly unanimously. Every Republican voted for that. With regard to County Plaza, I'm not sure if it was unanimous, but it was clearly a large majority, and I believe all Republicans supported that. So I think the idea that we can't work together, even across party lines, is simply not shown by the actions and the results that this board has produced over the last 2 years in particular.
Thank you. Mr. Summers, and this is the last question, and then we'll go to closing.
Yes.
The elected county executive form of county government allows the county board to put home rule for Champaign County on the ballot. Are you in favor of putting the home rule question on the ballot?
Well, the voters chose this form of government, and we need to try and make it work as they passed it. I certainly value conversations with others, and I will use that as a tool to decide how best to move forward. Home rule is not a priority for me, but it is certainly worth discussing the pros and the cons, but ultimately that decision is up for the voters of Champaign County to decide.
Thank you. Mr. Myhre, the elected county executive form of government allows the county board to put home rule for Champaign County on the ballot. Are you in favor of putting the home rule question on the ballot?
Yeah, I'll make a definitive statement here. I'm not for home rule, especially at this time. I think it's something that's not at our level of interest right now. We have so many other priorities in order to fix and make sure that our government is working as smoothly as possible. I think home rule would just be something that would confuse it and make it more of a problem than anything else. Eventually, if the voters do decide that home rule is attractive and they're educated to find out exactly what that means, I think that we would definitely do it, because if it's the will of the people, that's what we need to do. So home rule is an option, but I don't think it's a priority right now. I don't think it's something that we should be considering at this time.
Thank you. Okay, now for closing statements, you have 2 minutes, and we'll start with Mr. Myhre.
Thank you. I have enjoyed this process. Thank the League of Women Voters and the NAACP for giving us this opportunity to speak directly to the voters. There's not many forums like this. And even 2 years ago, they were one of the only ones to actually provide this opportunity. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to reach out to voters. So I want to make this last ditch effort here, this last stake, since I have the camera right here in front of me and reaching out to so many voters at this one moment, to tell you that I am dedicated to this county. This is the place where I grew up and where I love. I want to see the best for Champaign County, and I'm talking to all of the voters. We're not just reaching out to one special group or one special interest group, one activist group. I'm talking to all the voters out there. There's room for everybody's opinion on the table, and there's room for discussion, civil discussion. And I want to make that happen. I want to make it so that our county board works together with the county executive, that we have a functional government, that those things that pull us apart, the things that make us go in polar opposite directions, are reduced, and that we bring people together in order to fulfill the needs and the will of the people. That is what's most important in federal government, in state government, and in county government. We want to make that happen as locally as possible. So voters, please vote for Ted Myhre, M-Y-H-R-E, Myhre. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Summers?
Thank you. I've served the residents of Champaign County for the last 6 years, and I would like to have the opportunity to do even more to try and fix problems. That's my main goal as an elected official. I want to fix things. There's a lot of discussion about dysfunction on the board, and I think I brought up a few examples of things that we've done that have worked well and have had bipartisan support. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about one specific area that the board has really achieved, I believe, great success, and it's fully bipartisan. It's going to take about 4 years, but we will eventually have a broadband network in Champaign County that will provide affordable broadband to every resident in the county, and the bulk of it will be hardwired. And, you know, this is truly a historic expansion of access to the residents of Champaign County. And, you know, the Farm Bureau is engaged in this, all of my Republican colleagues, all of my Democratic colleagues, there's no argument about it. And we're spending $10 million of the American Recovery Act funds to accomplish this. This accomplishment is going to help children, it's going to help agriculture. This board has accomplished good things, and I want to try and accomplish even more if you'll elect me to be your county executive. I reach across the aisle with great regularity, and most of my Republican colleagues, even if they don't agree with me, they will at least talk. And in our country, we need to do a lot more talking. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for both of you for participating in this forum. And I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the NAACP for sponsoring it, and especially to Michelle for keeping us on time. Just a reminder, it's not too late to register to vote. You can register and vote all the way up to Election Day on November 6th. And so the information is available on the league website and on the county clerk's website. So please register and vote. And thank you very much to the candidates, and thank you for the people who are listening. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity. This is so great.